everyone, and welcome to the Ukulele on the Ground podcast. My name is Aldrine, joined by Mr. Aaron, the voice, Nakamura. Say what's up, Aaron.
What's up?
And Mr. Kahai, the legend, Fergan. Say what's up, Kahai.
What's up?
Gentlemen, it is 1 p.m. Hawaii Standard Time, Thursday. It's time to just talk it up. It's the Ukulele on the Ground podcast. We're going to talk uke. We're going to talk whatever, people ask of us. Basically, we are live, so we have a live chat going on right now. You guys can ask us questions. We can answer questions that we got through email, through text, through messages, through forum comments, whatever it may be. We can answer any and all of your questions via the show. If not, we don't get questions and stuff. We just kind of talk. We can talk ukulele. We can talk about what's coming up. We can talk about just life experiences in general, Kahai, you know what I mean? Like, you have a big trip coming up, right?
Yep.
So you, you're leaving, which means that it's actually going to affect some things next week, because you're gone next week. Right? How long are you gone for?
Yeah, a couple of weeks.
Okay. So because Kahai is not going to be here next week, that means, first off, the podcast is still going to happen. We're still going to have a podcast ready for you on Thursday. But Aloha Friday Live Jam, a little bit difficult to do without Kahai. So that's not going to happen next week. But what is going to happen, and I want to let you guys know now, that next week, Friday, 1 p.m. Hawaii Standard Time on our Instagram channel? What do you call that? Instagram account? On our Instagram account, Uke Underground, UKE Underground, no spaces, no nothing. Uke Underground. I will be doing a Instagram live on our Instagram account, so make sure you follow Uke Underground. 1 p.m. Hawaii Standard Time. I will go on. I'll be jamming some songs if you guys want to jam along. That's basically what it is. But we won't have diagrams and things like that to show you. I will show the chorus before I start playing, and I can, if you know the lyrics, sing along if you want to sing along. Just kind of like a Aloha Friday Live Jam, but without Aaron and Guy. It's just basically Aldrine Friday Live Jam, I guess. Like I'll jam some songs. I'll try to play a bunch of songs that we usually do for Aloha Friday, just to get the same kind of feel. But it's kind of cool. We'll just have fun. So it's better than nothing. You know what I mean? It's better than not having an Aloha Friday Live Jam. I'll at least get to kind of hang out with you guys. I would love to do that. That'd be pretty cool. So next week, 1 p.m. Hawaii Standard Time on Instagram, Uke Underground, at Uke Underground, right, Kai?
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
But you'll be here the following week?
No. I'll be back on the island, but I won't be back in the office.
Okay, so just to keep safe. Mm-hmm. So we might have another Aloha Friday Live Jam style-ish or whatever on Instagram. If not, then maybe we'll do it like how we did it, like during the beginning of the pandemic last year. If not, then whatever. I'll just do it on Instagram. That sounds like fun. If I can remember the Facebook password, maybe we'll do it on Facebook or whatever. I'll let you guys know by next week, okay? So, but for the most part, 1 p.m. Friday, the same exact time that we usually do Aloha Friday Live Jam, will be live on Instagram. Cool. Now that we got that out of the way, Kahai, what's the first order of business?
Well, we have a few questions.
Cool.
From the chat.
Nice. I like questions.
Yeah. I asked Renee if she has anything she wants us to talk about today, and so she said. Sound check or lack thereof, and introducing yourself to the audience. I get so nervous, all the chords drop out of my head and onto the stage. How do I tap into a performance, Renee?
That's tough, because it's not going to happen overnight. And I know people don't want to hear this and stuff, but that takes time. You know what I mean? Like it's going to take time for you to get used to the stage, for you to get comfortable up on stage, for you to basically build a script of what you're gonna say once you get up there. You're gonna, you want to try some things out. Some things might not, work out as well as you want to, but the more you do it, the better you'll get. With that said, there are some suggestions, some stuff that I've learned along the way of performing up on stage. introducing yourself shouldn't be like this kind of elaborate thing. I guess it can be, but it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be some elaborate whatever, like, you're playing a song, you're like, and here's my drummer or whatever, Mr. Green. Yeah, and then Mr. Green does a solo and like, all right, here on guitar we have, it doesn't have to be that, okay? You can just be like, hi, my name is Renee. I have some songs to share. My first song is, and that's it. It's seriously like a few seconds. Don't overthink it. Is honestly my best advice. Because if you overthink it, then you get in your head. You're already nervous about like chords and lyrics and stuff like that. You don't want one more thing to cloud your head. And the more you do it, the more you're like, okay, maybe I'll say it like this time, or maybe I'll say it like that next time, or whatever. And the more you do it, the better you'll get. Because I've done like, I don't know, years of open mic to years. I mean, that's like every Monday for years of trying to figure out what I should say on stage, and even then when I moved here to Kauai and started playing, regular gigs and stuff, I still had to figure out what I'm going to say. But now, 10 years later, I have like a script. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm going to say that after this song, and then this after that song. And then I'm going to say this before the song, so that Aaron knows exactly what we're gonna play next, So it's something that will happen. Let it happen naturally. Because if you're gonna, think about what you're gonna say and whatever, and if you don't say exactly what you mean to say, that's one more thing that you're gonna worry about. Try to just do things naturally. Like just imagine as if you're just playing for one person. If you're having a conversation with one person. I know that sounds weird, to say or to hear, but that's the best way for you to feel comfortable. Like, what would you say if you were, if you had an audience of one? Like, how would you introduce yourself? How would you introduce that song? It's kind of like that. Pick one person from the audience to concentrate on, and then imagine you're talking to that person, but without staring at that person. Don't stare at people. Don't stare at that person, but pick one person that you talk to. For me, what works is picking a table. How do you do that? Because I know I do that, to play four. So I always pick a table.
I don't do that.
That's my mentality. Like on Wednesday nights, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna pick a table or two. It could be a table or two. And that's why I don't know if you noticed, but it's always like I'm always kind of talking to to a set of people. It's kind of like that. I concentrate on a table as if I'm performing just for them, and I guess it spreads. People will feel like you're talking to their table, even if it's not what I'm concentrating on. But it's like a general thing, it's not like, look at that person's hat or whatever, it's not like that, where it's just pick a target and just focus on that and imagine that's the only target, and that's the only way that you'll feel comfortable. Because if you don't imagine 100 people, if you just imagine one person, then you're tricking your mind, and it's just this is one guy, it's just playing for one dude. And try not to think about it too much. You don't want to get in your head. You already have enough pressure of songs and stuff that you're gonna do, tempo and chords and whatever. So but as far as tapping into the performance mode, that's another thing that you're just gonna have to develop through time and through repetition of doing things over and over. But you can you just watch a lot of the greats and honestly just take notes and just mental notes. Don't write stuff down, but watch people what is that ringing? Okay, watch people who's that guy that did Benny and the Jets? Watch Elton John, super flamboyant. I'm not saying you should be Elton John, but watch how he interacts. Watch a live show with him, how he interacts with the crowd, how he introduces himself. Watch people who's that guy from Queen? Freddie. I'm blanking out on names. Freddie Mercury. All the confidence in the world and stuff. Or if you don't want to aim so high or whatever, you can just look at how your favorite smaller artists conduct themselves, or even how if you're playing at a place, if it's an open mic, there's people before you. See take some notes with how people introduce themselves who went up before you or even after you. I always tell people, stay for everything. You know what I mean? Don't just go there for your set and then come, like, and then leave the bar or wherever you're playing at after your set. Always be there. Always, talk to people. Always introduce, yourselves to the other musicians. Stay, watch the other musicians play, no matter how, good or bad, like they may be. It's always nice, and you'll feel this sense of community with the other musicians, unless they're like that kind of person where like, it's my art or whatever, like it's not usually the case. But just get yourself in a comfortable mindset, and I think that helps so much, right, Kahai? How about you? Well, how do you get rid of the jitters when you play in front of thousands of people?
Well, I don't perform music really, but when we're hanging out or something and I do magic for people, that is like something that even now I can do tricks like at home. I practice not consciously. I just practice things, like practice moves, practice things at home, and nobody's watching, and I can do it perfectly. But then whenever somebody, there's like, oh, do a trick, or or oh, can you show me something? My hands all start shaking, and I can't control it. So since I know it's that, there's a magician that said, always do like an opening trick. And that opening trick should be the easiest trick you know how to do, where you don't have to think about it at all. Like you can do it in your sleep. And even better yet, if it's like for magic, it's like a trick that sets itself up, right? Like all you have to do is be like, ta-da, there it is. So the same thing I think with music too, right? Like like you don't feel like you have to go out there. I know we talked about open mics a few weeks ago.
And set lists and stuff.
And Aaron said that like open mics are a good place to experiment, and I think it is a good place to experiment. But maybe that first song, just to make sure you kind of center yourself, your nerves are down. Play a song that you know by heart, that you can play like without even looking at your hand, without thinking about what the chords, the lyrics are. It's just like you're almost like on autopilot, right?
That's what we do.
Yeah.
Every time.
you can play it, and I think that's also good because you play it, and like while you're playing it, probably like just take a look around the crowd, right? Like just look around and be like, like kind of almost. You do what you said, right? Like pick one person out of the crowd and feel like you're playing to them. You can, that's where you can do that. Or I think it's like look around and tell yourself, oh, this is just people too. It's like it's not a big deal, It's like I can calm myself down, I can work it down. And even when I do magic, I still have, my hands are still shaking, but just getting that first trick out of the way, even if it, I mess up or like somebody like isn't impressed or they saw the trick is done, then I can just know like, oh, okay, I can do my second trick already. It's just that confidence of getting that first one done. So I think that's a good one.
I want to add that like when I was starting out and stuff, like I had a great support group of friends that like would come to my shows. So picking the one table like to play for is usually my friends, you know what I mean? Like my friends would come, in your case, if your significant other comes and stuff, like if you have if a boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, whatever it may be, that's like the person you want to concentrate on. You just play for that person because you see that person every day or hopefully, and if it's a lot easier and a lot more comfortable if you're just focused on that and focus on being in the most comfortable mindset as possible. But it was great. Like a bunch of my friends used to come to my shows all the time, but now like that I play a bunch of shows, they're like, we don't need to see Aldrine every week. But back then they would come all the time, and it was great. So just playing for my friends, that actually gave me the confidence boost that I needed to because I could talk to my friends, I could tell them anything, and I'm not like scared to like tell them off or even like if they're being rude or whatever. And same thing, like that's kind of how I got the confidence to talk to the audience, just like how I would when I talk to my friends.
I think piggybacking off of that, right? If your friends aren't gonna come, right, You go to an open mic at the same location every time. Become friends with the people who work there.
Yeah.
So you can like
There
look
you
at
go.
them.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, the bartender. I know the bartender. They're nice. Or I know that waitress or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. And usually people who work there are nice. You know. So yeah.
Now, what about you, Aaron? Like when your first time, do you have any suggestions for Renee?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I never really thought about.
Because you played in bands and stuff, you know, like, and when you were starting out, like, how did you get rid of the jitters?
I don't know. I don't think I was ever afraid of the stage.
Really?
That's why.
Oh, snap! Oh, okay.
There's, I guess, like certain performances, you know, you get a little nervous.
Yeah.
But I don't remember, like, because I think I was performing before I can remember.
Oh, yeah.
So it was like one of those things where, like, I don't know why. Maybe I just had the cute face that like, teachers decided that I was the lead, or, you know.
You definitely have the cute face.
So I was like, yeah, I think it was always like plays, like I was in plays, or like I always like was in performance groups, like singing and dancing performance groups and stuff like that. So like a lot of that stuff is like before I can remember. So
is there
just comfortable on stage?
I don't remember being too nervous.
But the thing, I had the same childhood, like, and I was part of like musical groups and stuff. I you know, I performed for my dad's, like, you know, drinking friends or whatever, you know, like when I was like 2-3 years old or whatever it may be. And like today, like last night, I was nervous, like before the first time. I'm always nervous at every show. Like, how do you do it? I want some advice from you.
I don't think I've ever really had to do too much of that, like the banter. I guess when I was in high school and we had our own band.
Yeah. You were the lead for that band?
Yeah. But I don't remember too much.
Because you and Cody were the lead, right? Or you was the lead?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Have you ever felt like that idea of like a nervousness before doing something new? You know, it doesn't have to be performance wise, and just, or like you're doing something and you know, like it's gonna be based off of how well you do something, so you're just like nervous about, you know, quote unquote performing. And then is there like
anything to do with sports, because I suck at sports. But
yeah, imagine that. So how would you imagine if Renee is trying to get advice from you, like how
about
do
sports?
yeah.
that is there
something
something
comfortable?
I don't know. Yeah, you just figure out ways to. I would always get like this like a restricting feeling in my throat.
Really?
Yeah.
When you play sports?
When I play sports.
Okay.
And so so for the start of a game or something, like I played roller hockey, or, you know, and so yeah, for that, it's just a matter of like calming yourself down, right? Because you know what's going on, you know what's happening, and you know, like, why you sort of know, like, intellectually why it's happening. And so
you can explain, like,
it's just a matter of getting your body to
listen. To listen. Yeah, because I mean, you know, you perform with me everywhere around the world and stuff, and like how many times do we use the restroom before we go up on stage? You know what I mean? Like, and that's not because I actually like have to pee or whatever, but I do. Like, it's not like I drag a lot of water. It's just like a nervous it's like a nervous thing. Like, and you always see me like with like restless leg, you know, like I'm always doing that, like, and waiting, getting my headspace and stuff, like and I think it is calming to see you so calm. You know what I mean? Like,
well, for me, it's like I'm not the main attraction to, so I just gotta not mess up too much, and then I won't like, you know.
But yeah, I'm
call attention to myself. So.
And you know that I'm just like, okay, all right, Aaron, let's go. And I always try to have a pep talk with you. I was like, all right, man, let's go out there. Let's do it. Let's do it again. And then afterwards, like, oh, thank God we survived.
It's like you talking to yourself, basically.
After you.
We got this, man.
We got this, Aldrine. I mean, Aaron.
Like look in a mirror and give yourself a pep talk. But I think a couple of weeks ago, like we kind of talked to Craig and Sarah about this, and Craig said like, or both of them kind of said like, just repeat it, you know, repeat performance and record yourself, and it gets better over time. I kind of think that does work for some. The way that people describe it is like, if you just do it enough, your nervousness will go away, like completely. But I think it does for some people, and it does not for everybody. Because I feel like no matter how much times I do magic or I do something, I'm always gonna have a little bit of that. There's just that like a bubbly feeling like right here in my chest where it's just like,
adrenaline surge.
Yeah. And I think it the more times you do it, the more you recognize it, and you can kind of be like, okay, like I don't need to make it as big of a deal as it is. But I don't think it necessarily goes away altogether, and I don't think you need to try and make it go away altogether. If you don't, I feel like if you don't have a little bit of that feeling, then you probably don't enjoy performing at all, right? It's just like, I'm just going to my day job and I'm just gonna phone it in, So I think in that sense, having a little bit of that nervousness is a good thing too. Yeah. It means that you're like, okay, I'm worried but excited about this performance, right? So
yeah, the worst advice that I got like from some fellow musicians and stuff, because I'm still nervous to this day. I'm still nervous. So don't worry about it, Renee. Like, because I'm still nervous. Is the worst advice is and kids, not for you, like, is to to have some liquid courage before going up, and you adults know exactly what I'm talking about. It's the worst thing. I'm like, let me try that out because it works for some people, and I tried it, and like even more so, like I played terrible. I played even worse.
Yeah,
like
some
under
people
the
swear
influence.
by that, but I don't. Yeah, I don't.
Me neither.
Can't see.
And it's not like I'm not like into it or whatever. Like, cause I'll I'll put them down after the show. Like, oh, thank God, we survived that, and I'll just like and I'll celebrate, like a celebratory like drink afterwards. But before, like I don't. And for those of you folks who've seen us like at any show, you'll never see me do that before. Like after maybe, but it's not like not something to do. It's like the worst advice because I've tried it, like, and it's terrible. I mean, for me, it doesn't work for me. It's the worst advice that I've ever gotten. But take that however you want to. But it's not something for me. I think I forget things. I I don't know. I feel not like too relaxed, but like it kind of takes away a little bit of your inhibitions, and it's just like maybe I need some of that. Some of that restraint
to keep you on point.
To keep me exactly.
Yeah. There's I watched a video about did you know that there's like a world barista competition?
What?
So it's like people, there's a competition for making coffee, and you're on a stage, they time you, and you have to make, I don't know if it's like 3 different types of coffees for the judges, like live. But the guy who won, he was like going over his winning performance and explaining things he thought about, and maybe things he can improve on and stuff like that. But he said what he did was he actually practiced for like in case he messed something up, then it's like, okay, I can immediately go to my backup, right? So if you're in the middle of a song and you kind of stumble or something, maybe that's where it's like you have a joke in your back pocket that you can just pull out and be like, oh, okay, and you just say it, and just to get it on with. But then also, like, I thought the great advice he gave at the end of the whole thing too, right? He said was years later he went to a conference and they asked him, oh, can you talk about your competition? And we also have judges from your competition, and we're gonna ask them like what they thought about it. And so he went into like all the details, and like, I did this for this reason, I did this for this, I made sure all these things were ready, you know. And then when the judges came out, they're like, oh, what did you think on your side? And they're like, oh, I don't even remember it, really. I don't remember all the details. I just remember it was good coffee and I liked it. So it's like kind of at the end of the day too, you can think of your performances like that too, where maybe it might not feel good, but the people there, I think, will probably, if you play well, they'll probably just be like, oh yeah, that was a good performance. And if you don't play well, they'll be like, oh well, they won't hang on to it,
Well, and maybe we should talk about the other end of the spectrum, because I've gotten that too. What do you mean? It's like you get into like a flow state where like where all like everything else drops away basically, and you like become part of the music almost. It's like a strange weird feeling where like you're almost like you're not even controlling your own hands. It's just happening.
Yeah.
And you're like, you're there, you're part of it, you're observing it, but it's like, and it's just like, it's probably the most incredible feeling that you get on stage.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like,
because I do feel both sides. Like I'm nervous before, but like once we get into that flow, you're there,
and
you're
it's
in
usually
that
only
zone.
certain songs or certain things happening. It all has to happen perfectly, but then if you get there, it's like, that's the payoff of everything else. Everything that you've ever done on stage before is just that state. So like,
I remember one time, like I could have just gotten lost in it, but like I don't know why I took myself out, but we were in Cheltenham, like in the UK and stuff, and I think I've said this story before. We were playing Purple Rain and everything was just aligned. Like we were, like we had everything down. The song was perfect. Everyone's singing along. The lights were purple or whatever, and I'm just like, I was so into it. But I looked at, like I took a second to appreciate everything, and I took myself out of it, and I think I stopped before the second verse to just like really take it all in, and then we went through the second verse, but it was just like everything was there, like you said, everything just aligned, and it was just like I was watching it, but then I wanted to physically like look at the audience and just stop for a second, just appreciate everything that was happening. But the culmination of like all the years of it's crazy.
Well, that's good too. Being able to appreciate it.
And it was cool, but it was,
but you felt you were like,
yes. But that's, that happens like as soon as we get in the zone. And there's some weeks we don't get there, but there's a lot of weeks that we play on our weekly gig that it's like, man, that was just, when we usually talk about it after the show, we're like, after like the first hour, like it was, everything was, everything's all good. That was the zone, that we were in. Like felt like everything that we did, like it just couldn't go wrong. Like my fingers were just hitting all the right notes. The the volume, the singing, the chemistry between us and stuff. Everything was just perfect. And it's a surreal feeling. And I've talked about it before, where like it's almost as if time slows down and I can just and I can watch myself do it, and then it's just like, oh, okay, well, I'll play these notes, and it'll just come out perfect. I
think
that's a good feeling.
It's interesting because I think there's that movie. Is it Pixar Soul? Like that came out, and it's about a pianist. And,
spoilers! I haven't seen it.
Well, they also talk about like that flow state, right? Too, and they said like that flow state is actually really close to anxiety. It's like almost the line crossing anxiety and meditation, because you're like hyper aware, but you're also like you're super relaxed at the same time. So that's where it's like. People who try to go into that flow state, they can actually tip over into anxiety. And to go into the flow state, it's almost like I heard somebody say it, where it's like it's not something that the more you try and achieve, the harder it's gonna become. It's just something that happens, right? Like everything aligns and it happens. So it's kind of like once you know that, then you don't necessarily like really think or try like I gotta really make this good. It's just like, oh, it's happening, like you can kind of tell like, oh, it's coming on. And I think that's where it's like people will, like you said, it's like snap out of it once they realize like I'm in the flow state, and then they're like, oh no, I lost the flow state. So
it's sort of one of those things where like you just have to trust the fact that you've played this song so many times that
you're let go.
You know what to do. You know when to do the right things. So like you have to just like detach, and just you have to like be comfortable enough to detach and not have to worry about that, because like most of the time you are worrying about it. Like you're thinking, oh, what comes next, or whatever it is. Like what lyrics come next, whatever what chords come next. And so.
If you let go.
If you just trust the fact that like I've played this like thousands of times before, then you can get to the point where you can just let go. And that's like, it's a strange feeling.
I've heard
it's like, it's pretty cool.
I've heard archers too explain it, like where it's almost like they go for their shot. In competition archery, you get 3 shots at a target, multiple rounds, but you get 3 shots in a round. and so it's like they're going for it, and they say the round starts, and then it's almost like it ends, and they wake up from it, and it's like almost like, oh my gosh, it like all went by.
Yeah, they were in the zone the entire time.
Yeah, and it's like only now can I like take a breath, and I'm like, oh, and I did really good.
Yeah.
Like I got it, all of it went in, but it's just because they're just like, I trust my muscles. I've done this thing, I've repeated this step so many times that my brain is just off. I'm letting my body just continue the movement without me. So
yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah. If I could make a dorky reference, do you read Prince of Tennis, Kahai?
I read the original
manga
series, and
Yeah,
I watched
remember? Like, did you read it all the way, like to the end?
the original series.
Yeah, the original series.
I think I watched the anime.
Oh, do you remember? So you don't remember like the pinnacle of perfection?
Yeah, that's
Like
in the original.
that's like that's what I imagine is like the flow state.
Yeah.
Right? It's like the pinnacle of perfection is kind of like you like we've been talking about. You trust your muscles, you trust your like muscle memory, and you trust that you've done it before and stuff. But like it's about enjoying the moment.
Yeah.
Like, you know, because you're in that moment, you enjoy playing tennis, you love this because you love it so much that like nothing can go wrong. You know, like if you're in love with what you're doing, and if you're in that zone or like that flow state, then nothing can go wrong because you're allowing yourself to let go of like of any kind of worries, any kind of thinking about mistakes or whatever, and you're just like trusting yourself and trusting your instincts and trusting your everything, your love for the for the thing that you're doing, and it's pretty cool. Like Prince of Tennis, pinnacle of perfection, it's called.
In Prince of Tennis, right? There's a bunch of them.
Yeah, there's levels. Yeah.
Well, they're trying to get to that pinnacle of perfection, and they keep talking about it like it's a mystic thing and everything. And then when the main character finally like achieves it at the very end. And all the other characters...
Spoilers for the people who want to read like Prince of Tennis.
Well, all the other characters are like, they're like, how did he do it? And they're talking to his dad because his dad trained him. And he's like, well, his dad is like, well, he's just playing tennis. All of you guys think it's like life or death, but if you look at him, he's just playing,
enjoying it.
To him, that is just, you guys think like, oh, I need to get better and I need to do all these things. He's just looking at the ball and he's just thinking, how do I make the ball go over to the other side of the net? It's like that. It's not. He's not overcomplicating it. And then it's like the same thing too, where they look up to his dad and they're like, how do you do it all the time and on command? It's like, guys, I'm playing tennis with my son. I'm not playing Wimbledon. I'm not like playing competitions. I'm not doing anything. It's just fun, right? I'm just
the best way to explain it is just like you let go of everything and just have fun with your instrument, and then you share that fun on stage, and it's just like, and it shows, you're in that state where like you just completely trust your love for the art that you're doing. That's best way to explain it.
And I think that's why
I'm gonna have to look at that clip from Prince of Tennis where like Ryoma finally gets to that state.
Of course it's like anime, so it's over the top, and they're like they cut the ball in half, right, and they're hitting two halves of the ball at the same time. But that's what it is. It's great. Okay.
So next you said we had questions, so what's the next question?
Well, Jim wanted to. He said, let me see. Okay. Maybe you can pick up on that thread I asked about last week about the percussive sound and active/passive pickup. You remember when Jim was talking about that, like when he hits the strings, it makes the quack, basically. So how do you...
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we talked about this before, but the two different pickups and stuff are active pickups and passive pickups. So passive It doesn't need a power source to power up the pickup. It just just basically it just amplifies your instrument by plugging into whatever system that you're plugging into. But there are pickups called active pickups that have a source of power. In this case, a 9-volt battery to power up the pickup so that it sends a stronger signal over to whatever board that you're using or whatever sound system. Now. There are major differences between the two. So because you're drawing drawing power from the system, and it's amplifying the uke itself, we're using a passive, you're gonna hear a lot of noises from the instrument. If you just kind of take your finger and you go like this to the top of the wood, that's gonna get picked up. You know what I mean? Like you just touch the strings and you run your fingers through the strings, that's gonna get picked up. It's gonna get picked up kind of by an active, but not really, because it doesn't have to fully amplify it so that it hears everything, because it has its own power source. Now, I love using active pickups because of that. I don't get too much noise coming from the instrument itself. But both pickups have something called the quack that happens. Especially some pickups have it more than others. Like Fishman is very notorious for the Fishman quack, but it's even worse on the ukulele. Okay, so because the ukulele is just such a short scale, the pickups are usually on the undersaddle, and we strum right here. Or right here, or we finger pick over here. So regardless where you're strumming your instrument, is going to be this much space between the pickup and where your fingers are making the noise. So because the active pickup is here, or passive pickup, or whatever it may be that you're using, it's you're gonna hear all the different kinds of sounds that your fingers are making. And because it's it's so close to the bridge, even without being plugged in, when you play your instrument, you're gonna hear that thump. There's that thump that happens when you play your instrument, and it's because it's such a it's because it's a short scale instrument. It's so close to where the bridge is. You're gonna hear that thump. You don't hear it too much in the guitars because the distance between the bridge of the guitar, where you would have that pickup, or where the main source of where your top wood is picking up the vibrations on your strings, is a bigger distance. You don't hear that as often. It's not that it's not there, but it's just not as prominent as it is on the ukulele. And since the ukulele also has plastic strings, that's another thing that that contributes to that noise. Now, add to it using a passive pickup, that makes it even worse. Okay, when you play your instruments, because so that's going to get picked up. The noise from your finger hitting the strings is going to get picked up. If you hit your top wood as you strum your ukulele, that's going to get picked up. It's a lot of noise. A lot of people like it though, because some people can be kind of percussive with their instrument. Someone like Craig, for example, he did that golpe technique. So if you're more into doing stuff like that, that's definitely going to be a job for passive pickup, because that's gonna it's gonna pick up all the cool stuff that he's doing with his instrument. But be sure to be aware of the thump and the quack that's coming out of the pickups as well. So one thing that if you're recording yourself, one thing that I've done, or one thing people do that try to get rid of that quack, is to use a microphone. That's why I always tell people, use a microphone when you record yourself, okay? But in your case, Jim's case, he was performing for the open mic, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he wanted to plug in, and he had all these devices and stuff that he had like a drum machine that's kind of going on. He has to plug in, so be wary of all that noise when you're playing your instrument, okay? So just kind of keep those things in mind. Maybe turn down, if you have an EQ in your either on the board or on your instrument or on a DI that you're using, you might want to turn some of that that hertz down that is contributing to the thump or to the quack. That's something that you can do. Or just being lighter with your instrument, knowing how to attack your instrument properly, and that's going to differ from instrument to instrument. So make sure that you get to know your instrument before performing on stage. Plug in your instrument with whatever amp that you're using, and listen to the really listen to the amp sound. listen to what kind of noises are coming out, and see if you can separate the natural sound of your instruments versus the what's coming out of just like electronic noise, like just by plugging it in or by whatever, the pickup, the thump, the quack, whatever it may be. So see if you can like lean towards the more natural sound of the instrument rather than the bad sounds, I guess, like, or not. I don't want to say bad sounds because some people like it, like, but it's just kind of getting to know your sound and your instrument and the sound that it makes plugged in is very, very, very important if you wish to perform for people, or if you wish to like to kind of just do open mics and stuff. But just knowing your instrument in general, I think is a good rule. But more so if you're trying to perform, because it's a completely different beast plugged in than it is unplugged. Okay, now. It's your choice what pickup to use based on what kind of playing style you have, but more importantly, focus on how your uke behaves when it's plugged in.
Yeah. That quack sound is it's sort of like distortion almost, right? From too much signal coming through. Yeah. So usually you'll get it when you strum really hard, like all at once.
Yeah. Think about it. It's like it's here, and like your pickup's right there. So imagine if the pickup, if you can imagine like your ear, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like imagine your ear being this close to your ukulele, like, and it's gonna be too loud.
Vibrating it directly.
Yeah.
So yeah. Well, any other tips on like mitigating that sound? Trying to
well, contour your sound like to a more, or your EQ to whatever natural sound that you're going for. I play a little risky because like I turn down the highs and turn up the mids, which would kind of give me more more of that thump or whatever. But but because I have an active pickup, it's a lot less than if I were to have that passive. So I think I can get away with a little bit more. But it's also the way that I attack the strings. It's I've tried to I've tried to work on it for years, but just tone wise and the attack and your how aggressive or non-aggressive you are with the strings, that's something that you're gonna have to figure out for yourself, because it's instrument to instrument kind of thing. And great examples is listen to people like Herb Olta Jr. Like no matter if plugged in or unplugged, it sounds amazing. Like, and the way that he attacks the string, it's just so like pinnacle of perfection. Guy, like geez, like that guy's so good. And I mean, it doesn't even have to be like that, that kind of level. Like people like Brittany Paiva is also great at that. She uses pickups. I think she uses an LR Baggs 5.0, and I think she did her album like plugged in, and it sounded pretty good. Like she knows how to control her instrument too, so that it doesn't sound too like electronic or too thumpy or too quacky or whatever. There's people like Brian Tolentino who's fairy dusting all over other people's albums, and he plugs in and stuff. So there is definitely great players that have learned how to control that sound, but it's something that you're gonna have to experiment with your instrument with, because the build of your instrument, the strings that you're using, the pickup that you use, the amp that you're using, the even down to the wire that you plug into your instrument, all those are gonna have a factor, no matter how small or big. But some are bigger than others, like contributors to unwanted noise.
Yeah, I was gonna say like if you're not sure, like because you talked about how you can like locate the frequency that the quack is at, and then try and like curve your EQ so it it at least takes the edge off, if not eliminates the quack. But if you're not sure how to do that, record yourself. And then bring that recording into some kind of music software or some kind of something that you can like add on an EQ plugin or something. Yeah. And then make the EQ plugin where it has what is that shape called? Because there's like one particular shape where you can only hear the frequencies in that band, and you can actually like just listen to yourself playing, and you can scan through all the different frequencies, and you'll hear when the quack comes out, right?
Yeah,
like you'll hear that particular part, like where it's just like
hurts.
yeah. And so that's where you can make a note like, oh, okay, it's at 500 hertz, or it's at 15,000 hertz, or wherever you find it.
And some people have perfected, like Dr. Trey, like Tracy Terada, he has perfected that. Like, as we recorded with a microphone, like, with a very fancy, microphone with his studio. But there's still, no matter how fancy your equipment is or whatever, there's still that thump because it just naturally occurs with the ukulele. But he's worked with so much ukuleles, he like knew exactly where, which hertz it was. And he like turned it down. So if you listen to the I'm a Dreamer album versus say like Bandito Tyler with when Ariki Foster like worked on it and produced it and stuff, I think Bandito Tyler sounds a lot more raw. Where like we just like, okay, here's us playing, and that's what it sounds like. But with Tracy, the way that he mixed it, it's just like, wow, this is someone who knows how to like refine ukulele sound. And so it's just it's quite amazing. Like he's the best like ukulele producer that I've ever worked with. There might be other people that are better than Tracy, but really the best ukulele producer that that I've ever worked with.
I use a program called Isotope, and it's kind of pricey like for the full version, but I think you can find free or cheaper versions. And that what comes in Isotope is a spectrum analyzer. So you're usually when you see recordings, they come out as sound waves, right? Instead, this almost turns the sound waves sideways, and you just see them as bands, and like it goes up and down. So you can actually see when there's a spot that's like super hot, and it's like, oh, it's this band from 400 to 500 or whatever. And I use that for editing the audio for the videos that I edit, but then like it's so accurate that I go in and I take out like whenever you can hear you breathe. And just that, it's like usually you kind of have to be like, it's like, okay, I got to take out from this frequency range to this frequency range. You can physically like paint out just that one particular section.
So do you like gate it or something? Like what do you do?
No, it's like Photoshop. You go in and you
take it out.
You just draw a line around it, and then you say, okay, get rid of it.
Technology is amazing.
Or you can tell like, you can say, oh, analyze the areas around it to match, whatever it's supposed to be. Fill it in the space. But like, that's kind of like
that's super complicated.
Yeah, and it makes it easier because you can physically see the frequencies, right? And you can adjust to that. But then that is like, it basically is the same thing as what I was saying earlier, where you get an EQ, you listen, and you just scan through the frequencies. And then when you find something that you don't like, it's like, okay, just cut it out, or whatever.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's all like a lot of after, like, I guess, like after you record it, whatever, and you find out. But if you're like just trying to perform live and you're trying to get rid of that, it's really the best advice I can give is to practice it at home with whatever, like, if you can practice it with the app that you're going to be using to perform with, that would be best, so you can at least control it and stuff. But if you're working with with a sound man, it's not going to be your fault, but when you're practicing at home and you're trying to work it out, try to make noises on purpose. So for example, like take your hand and just like do this, like just place it on the strings like that. If it makes too much noise, then you're going to know that if just by like placing your hand on top of your strings, it's already making too much noise, that if you're going to start strumming and picking on it, that's going to it's going to amplify. Okay, so make sure that just like normal, like small things that you're doing doesn't cause too much noise on the instruments. Okay, and really just get to know your instrument well enough that when you plug it in anywhere, it's not gonna be making unwanted noises that you don't want it to. I mean, I've gone as deep as like, okay, maybe I'll get this wire or whatever, or I'll get this this EQ or this DI. Like, there's lots of stuff that I've tried to experiment on, because it's nothing that anyone has perfected, but it's a constant battle. But you want to just kind of make compromises here and there of like, okay, well, if I turn this down, then maybe that'll make it sound better. But yeah, get to know your instrument, experiment, plug it in if that's what you want to do.
You're trying to get the best result that you can.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like you're never gonna get like perfection, right? It's always just like, well, I got it better, right?
Yeah.
And it's always like kind of getting it better. Yeah. And I would say too, like when you're testing your equipment and like you're trying to hear for sounds or noises and stuff, even record yourself too. Like, put yourself on one setting, record yourself, play around with the settings, and keep recording yourself, so you can listen back to it. And then when you hear
setting works,
when you hear like one that's like, oh, I think that's my favorite. However, what controls I had, what knobs at wherever dials, it's like, I think that's my favorite, so I'm gonna go back and use that, and it kind of is just like, you do that, then you change some more settings, you keep refining, and you keep going back. You keep kind of like just building on it. So
just trial and error. Really, yeah. But we did notice, like in your performance, or your performance says that like it's something seems super hot. Is what I've noticed. Like, something seems hot. Either there's like a frequency that seems super hot, so go in your EQ and see if you can turn something down that makes it less, and by hot I mean like it's loud, like it's how would you explain
almost like
hot?
the gain is really high on something, because you can hear like the electronic buzzing, like the undertone of that. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not really sure what it could do.
I mean, I would have to be there and be like, okay, well, let me see what you're working with and
everything
stuff.
that's plugged in and stuff.
It might just be something as simple as EQing out your instrument, like it might be too much lows maybe, or like too much highs can be a thing too, because it's kind of can be screeching high, like so.
But it wasn't. It wasn't necessarily.
I think it's like a low mid thing that you were having.
Yeah, I remember there was we were at NAMM once, and there was Cole Clark Guitars, and they had a pickup system for their guitar that was integrated into the bracing system, and they I think they advertised it as like it picks up like all of the noises that, because I guess they had a bunch of artists
who were doing like the
they did like the tapping and scratching on the surface, and then they wanted that to pick, they wanted their pickups to pick that up. And so they had a version for ukulele. And I don't know. I mean, I didn't hear too much about it after that.
Yeah,
but
and I think when we checked it out, even they were saying that like it's not quite ready yet, because we haven't quite gotten the recipe down or whatever
for ukulele.
For ukulele. They tried it, but I don't think it worked for uke, and maybe they gave up on it,
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't heard.
It's a different monster. Like,
you should go look up
you can't approach the ukulele the same way as you do with the guitar, and I mean that for all aspects of it. Like the playing, the noises, the sound, the tone. It's a different instrument.
And the way you build too. That's why like a lot of guitar makers think that it like, oh yeah, it's like the same thing. I'm just shrunken down, so I'm just gonna use my same building ratios just to do it. And like a lot of guitar manufacturers fail at creating a quality ukulele.
We don't want to name any, but they're pretty high profile names out there that are like
I think they recognize it too, so like they'll try, and if they fail, either they keep iterating and then they eventually figure it out, or they just like, oh no, it's not worth it, like we're dedicating too many resources to this thing that like we're not even that into.
And there's some people that do it right, and then they're just like, well, it's just too hard, like we have done it, like Taylor, like if it's good, I'll name people, Taylor has done it right, but it's like too difficult to make something of that size and make it sound good and stuff, like they would rather just kind of focus on guitars, you know.
Collings was another one too,
Yeah, calling.
where they make
Too
fantastic
good.
guitars, and then they really dug deep
Yeah.
and did ukuleles right, and it's like, yep, you
That's-
did it. That's
yeah.
like
holy crap, some of the callings that we played at now was
my
like
goodness.
this is crazy. There's what was the one with the arch top? Was that a callings?
yeah. Yeah.
Like I remember what you call it? Bless his soul, like music guy Mike, he said he bought one like at that time, and like I remember playing that one at the booth before he bought it, and it's like this is insane,
was
you
the
know.
one.
But it's just it's difficult to get that right. But yeah, with anything, you know, all aspects of the two instruments, you can't really approach guitar and ukulele the same way. Not just building, playing, and stuff. Take that from a former guitar player, because I don't think it's not. I want to say former, but I played guitar before I played ukulele. You know, and it's just not the same. It's not the same. A big pet peeve of mine is like guitar players like trying to like teach uke stuff like to ukulele players, and I guess that whatever floats your boat, you know, like, but there really is a big difference between the two, and you can't just do the same thing that you do on guitar and do that on ukulele. There's some, I guess, that that cross over, and but I would admit to that, you know,
Or
like
similar.
there's similar things,
Similar things.
but you cannot do exactly the same thing that you do on guitar and ukulele.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, we hear about that, right? Where it's like guitar people who work at guitar stores.
yeah.
And
I learned ukulele from this whatever person, and
or like they convince people to play baritone, right? And it's when you listen to people's stories, it's like they convince you to play baritone because they're a guitar player. And, it's closer to guitar, so that's why they did it.
Oh yeah, some people like actively try to sell you, like if you go to a music store and stuff, like, well, what does this sound? And they're a guitar player, so like they can make it sound really good, because it's a baritone.
Or guitar lele too.
Oh yeah,
That's
yeah.
another
Like play
one.
this instead, and then graduate to a guitar, and then come see me so I can sell you one or whatever, And so just I would love to talk about the topic of of making sure that you respect something, before you go teach it. Because I would love to maybe next week we'll talk about that. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you kind of have to get to know the instrument and learn about it. Maybe maybe it's a cultural thing. Maybe like learn something about that culture before you you go out and yeah, maybe we'll talk about it next week. We'll talk about that in a future episode.
Yeah, I want to say something too, because I was telling Aaron just like, it's like, how do you? Because even when I do audio editing or video editing, I feel like I'm just like stumbling in the dark. And we were talking about, and I was like, when do you actually feel like I understand these things enough that I feel confident in my skill set, right? And Aaron said like, well, it seems like the more you do, the farther that end goal gets, and you never really reach it, right?
Yes.
And so it's the important thing too is that when you try these new things out and you're trying to improve your sound, or you're playing around with these things, it's important too to look back and say like, well, I might not be completely happy with like getting a perfect sound, but at least I'm better than this from before, or something. Yeah. So it's like, it's seeing at least that you improved, and taking the time to appreciate that. And because I think, that's something that I struggle with. And like, I play with all these, I play with a lot of audio settings. And like I said, I go in and I try to remove as much like noise as possible, where I'm removing little tiny things. Like they look like worms on the audio graph. Like you can barely see them, and I try and cut them out. But then it's the thing where it's like, I don't know how many people would even hear that. Or
so you're doing audio surgery is what you're doing.
Yeah, like so it is like it stresses me out, and I think I gotta take that the advice where it's like, well, you know, I'm not 100%, but at least I'm better than before. You know, I'm still working at it. I'm getting there.
It's the more you know, the more you don't know. You know, like
exactly.
Yeah, that's what Jim said in the chat. Yeah,
because honestly, I've played uke for decades, and I've, you know, like I feel like I'm really good at playing ukulele, but like the better that I get, the more I realize like I'm not that good. But like the things that I don't know, all the people that I meet are like, man, that is incredible. Like the things that you're doing with that, I've never even, you know, and I've been playing for decades. Like, let me stress that. Decades I've been playing for. And I'm, you know, every day I'm like seeing a YouTube video of like somebody playing ukulele and approaching it in a completely different way. Or somebody playing guitar or whatever, maybe like just music is so incredible that like the more you know, the more you don't know. Like the deeper you dig, is like, man, this is a cavern that I'm like, that I'm exploring, you know?
Well, even, I'll give an example too. I was working on our solo that's going to come out. And I was going, I had the mix and I had headphones on. Okay. And I was switching between 4 different sets of headphones to try and find the right mix for each one. And at the end, I kind of, the settings that I had, I turned it to 50%. So it sounds okay in each one. It's not, if I turned it to 100, it would sound good in one and it would sound bad in another. If I turned it to 0, it would sound good in one and it would sound bad in the other. So I decided to go 50 to just compromise all of them. And that's kind of like, that's it. Like that, you kind of have to do stuff like that where it's just like, that's
just what it's gonna sound like.
That's as good as I can get. You know, that's my competency. Like that's, maybe I'll learn something in the future to make it better, but for now, that's it. That's you know, I just gotta put it out there. So.
Yeah, you know, I'm having fun making videos like for my channel and stuff, but same thing. I'm like, oh, I could like maybe do more with this video, but I'm like, I don't know, like I don't want to dig that deep in like video editing, because once I go down that road, it's like I'm sure there's like a million other roads that it could lead me to, you know. But instead, it's like it's just for fun. I'm just it's for fun. It's just, we have to stop somewhere, you know. Like
I was doing a masking for the video. Yeah. And I was doing frame by frame masking of you playing, and crazy. Every single time your tuning peg would jump out of the mask. So for every frame, I had to click just on your tuning peg and just say, "Look at this thing. Like, make sure you keep this in, right?" And at the end of it, it's like I was working on that for like a good hour or 2 hours. And I had to do other stuff. That was yesterday, and I was like, I'm not gonna do this. Like I just grabbed the whole thing. I'm like, no, I had an idea, but I'm gonna do something else instead. I'm gonna scrap the whole thing too. So
before we go, I wore the shirt like I promised last week. So this is the mint green, very elusive Ukulele Underground, very exclusive and elusive Ukulele Underground t-shirt. So there's only 2 of these shirts, and I own both of them. So
I think Jim recognized the chat.
Mint green Ukulele Underground shirt. Let us know if you guys want. Maybe we'll print like can we do different colors and stuff again of shirts and stuff. Can we do, you know, another run of t-shirts? Maybe we haven't done a run of like UU shirts in a long time, huh?
Yeah, well, currently our printer is not located on Kahai. So,
yeah, that's true. So we can't like order like any kind of custom color.
Well, we can, but I'm not sure. We might switch to a different printer.
Okay.
Soon.
Well,
so
but you know, we are.
out.
Well, what I'm trying to say, we are open to some suggestions and stuff. What would you like to see? If there's anything, you know, that maybe we should reprint that you guys might be interested in, we can do that. We're not like some kind of exclusive whatever, you know, like it's only printed this much. And I mean, we did throughout the years, but you know, that was like 13 years ago. Maybe some colors people might want and they don't have access to. So let's we were open to any kind of suggestions. What would you guys like to rock? What kind of shirts
designs, slogans,
stuff that you guys would rock out, because we'd love to see you guys representing Ukulele Underground out in the in the real world out there, because we used to love going to going out to the tours and stuff and seeing all the UU shirts. It's just like a sea of UU shirts everywhere, all in different colors and stuff. We'd love to see it. Give us some suggestions, what kind of designs, what kind of colors that you guys might be interested in. Because if you guys are watching this podcast, you're probably invested in Ukulele Underground. So if you would like to wear our colors and our logo, let us know. What would you like to see from us? And then maybe once we get our new printer, then we're there with some fresh new ideas. Yeah, so I'll have to do that. I mean, I don't know, I'm kind of into like getting some cool like UU color shirts again.
You know what I think would be cool is like if we got suggestions and we kind of picked like some of the good ones, and then we put up like a poll or something so people can vote for their favorite ones, and whatever is their favorite we can figure out.
And there's something big in the works as far as Ukulele Underground goes. I know we've been kind of inactive for a long time, but it's because we're focusing on this big thing, and I don't know when we can announce it, but there's something big happening. And I'm excited for that because there's some like really cool stuff that we can do as far as that goes. So
we've been sitting on this for a while.
Long time.
Might actually be happening sometime soon, but it's been happening for a while, so that's why
over a year
we don't want to be like
Yeah, but I'm excited for that because since we're talking about shirts and stuff, that'd be so cool. We'll come up with some. I can't say anything anymore, but keep it locked in Ukulele Underground. We got some big plans, okay? All right, that's all I can say. We'll see you folks tomorrow for Aloha Friday Live Jam, 1 p.m. Hawaii Standard Time. Let's see what else. Next week we have a brand new solo that's coming out, right, Kai? Or is it this weekend?
Sunday.
Whoa, it's kind of close. Are you guaranteeing that it's going to come out on Sunday to everyone here right now, live?
Yeah, I have like all the stuff ready.
I'm just playing with you.
I'm not like I'm hoping to get it up like before, so I don't have to even worry about that. So, yeah.
All right, so brand new UU Plus solo will be coming out on Sunday as per Kahai. We have Aloha Friday Live Jam tomorrow. Next week we have a Aloha Friday Live Instagram Jam. Let's say that now. Aloha Friday Live Instagram Jam next week, 1 p.m. Hawaii Standard Time. We do have a UU podcast next week Thursday, but
it's not coming out live. It's probably just gonna it's gonna be in the archive already. Like
so you can just watch it at any time. Is it just gonna go up like Thursday morning time or?
I'll try and get it out on Thursday, but anytime during Thursday. So
so Thursday next week we will have a podcast episode for you. So that's all we got, right? Anything else you guys want to add before we move on?
No, I think that's it.
All right.
I think that's it. Okay.
If anything else, we'll talk about it tomorrow for Aloha Friday Live Jam. We'll see you guys next time. Aloha. Bye bye.